Hey guys, so today it's raining cats and dogs, so unfortunately no horsey activities, but what I thought I'd show you instead is how to properly take care of your tack. This will ensure that your tack is going to last a good long time and that it's going to benefit you for years to come. So since we're cleaning saddles today, do you prefer English saddles or Western saddles? So I prefer English, but that's only because I was originally trained in an English saddle. I do think Western is super comfortable, and I like a lot of the riding disciplines and the sports that come with Western. So leave your comments down below and I'd love to know what you think. So I've gotten a lot of requests from people to do a video covering this topic. And so if you would like it and also subscribe to our channel, this will push this video out to more people so more people will see it. So before we get started, let's cover some things you're going to need in order to clean your tack. So one thing you're definitely going to need are some old rags or sponges, and you can use these to wipe your saddle down and also apply the saddle cleaner we'll be using. So the next thing you're going to need is your saddle cleaner. So I recommend you have a saddle cleaner and a conditioner. The cleaner or the shampoo will clean the leather, but then the conditioner is what is going to keep its moisture in and also make that leather really flexible and comfortable. So this here is a 2-in-1 solution. It's leather cleaner and conditioner. So I'll just be using this one substance today. So I'll put a link in the description to either this product or something comparable that you could use when it comes to cleaning your saddle. So the last thing you'll need is a bucket of clean water, and I use this to just wipe my tack down, make sure there's no dirt or dust, and also to scrub down my bits and my stirrups. So you'll want this. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off my stirrup leathers, and this way my stirrups are just out of the way so I can more efficiently clean my saddle here. And once I have my stirrups off and my stirrup leathers, I'll take my stirrups off of the leather because I'm gonna clean these too. So for now, I'll just lay my strap over my bar and I'll put this to the side. So I don't know if y'all can tell, but my tack is used. I always get used tack. I am a penny pincher and I like to maintain my budget. And so if you're someone who has a horse and you're gonna need to be on a budget, that's one thing you can do is get tack used. And you can still get tack that's, you know, in perfectly good shape, and that's going to last you a long time. We also have a video about owning a horse on a budget, so I'll put the link in the description to that video too. So just looking at my saddle, it doesn't look like it's dirty or dusty, but if you've been around horses for any point of time, you know that they're super dirty animals and that, you know, the saddle actually is probably super dirty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rag and dip it in my water here, and I'm just going to wipe off all my tack. And when you do this, you want to make sure that your rag is just damp. I don't want to completely soak my tack. That's bad for the leather. All right, and so as you guys can see, I'm not soaking the leather. I have enough water in my rag that I can wipe this off and get dirt off. And the reason for that is water, a ton of water will dry out your saddle and the leather. So I don't want that to happen. All right, and so I'm definitely gonna make sure I'm getting in all the cracks and crevices so I make sure my saddle is nice and clean. I can lift up my flaps and do the same thing under here. And this also just allows you to look over your saddle and make sure there's nothing wrong with it and there's nothing broken. Because a broken saddle can be quite dangerous for the rider. And we don't want that, and for the horse. So I'm gonna also just be looking over my saddle to see if there's anything wrong with it. All right, so now that I've wiped my saddle down, made sure all the dust and dirt are off, now I can apply my leather cleaner and conditioner. So this is a brand new bottle I just got, so I'll show you guys what this stuff looks like. Looks like icing, but no, you cannot eat it. So we're gonna put this on the saddle. How you do this is I'm going to take my rag here, my other rag, and I'm just going to dip it in. And you can see this stuff is really fluffy, so it easily gets on my cloth. And I'll just rub it in so it's not as thick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply it. I'm just, as you can see, making circles with my hand. And I can spread this stuff out pretty far, so you don't need a huge gob of it. And I'll just work that in by doing circles. And I want to make sure I'm getting all the leather pieces that are on my saddle. So you should clean your saddle on a regular basis, and by cleaning it and conditioning it, that's just going to help to keep the leather supple. So that'll be more comfortable for you, and it'll also be more flexible for the horse, which is nice. And your goal is to get every piece of the saddle that's leather. So these flaps right here aren't always leather, they may be like suede or synthetic material. So with that, you can just kind of wipe them down with a rag. I wouldn't put the cleaner on them. But since I have the leather knee rolls, I can just kind of wipe it down. All right, so I'm gonna get under my flap now. There's something so satisfying about cleaning a saddle, I will say. And when you go to do the straps, you may be finding it difficult to clean them, but I just kind of rub my hand down them with the leather cleaner, and that way I get them nice and clean. So these are one of those things you want to make sure you check and make sure they're still in good quality, because if one of these snaps while you're riding, that means your girth is going to come undone, and we don't want that. So I'm going to check thoroughly, make sure these are all in good shape. So that's pretty much all the steps for cleaning your saddle, and you'll want to make sure you do that on both sides. So for me, I like to clean my saddle after I ride or on days I'm not gonna ride, like today. That way it gives it time for the cleaner and the conditioner to soak in, and then my saddle won't be all like greasy and weird when I ride and ruin my pants. Another thing I've heard people say is when they clean their saddle, their seat becomes really slick, and so they feel like they're wobbling when they ride. So if you just give your saddle time to sit and absorb, then your seat won't be as slippery when you go to ride. So one thing to understand is you don't want to clean your saddle every day. So believe it or not, but that will cause the leather to dry out. So a good rule of thumb is to clean your saddle at least once a week. That way you can look over, make sure nothing's wrong, nothing's broken, and then you can also, supplement the leather with the moisture it needs. So it's raining pretty bad outside. So what happens if you ride in the rain, or maybe you take your horse down to the pond and the horse lays in the water and your saddle gets soaking wet? So unfortunately, that can be really bad for your saddle. If that happens, what you want to do is allow your saddle to dry in a very airy room. And once it's fully dry, then you can clean it and condition it. And you'll want to give it a deep conditioning just to help supplement the leather, because when a saddle's wet and it dries, that's going to crack the leather. So we want to make sure we're providing that supplement that the leather conditioner will provide. So now that I've cleaned my saddle, I'm going to show you guys how to clean the girth. So I feel like girths usually go overlooked when it comes to cleaning your tack. The reason for that is because they make direct contact with the horse. So they actually get super dirty, but yet a lot of us overlook when it comes to cleaning them. So I have a leather girth here, so I'm going to show you what I do with the leather girth. But if you have a synthetic girth, all you really have to do is wipe your girth down with that wet washcloth. But that's going to be my starting point today. So let me go get my wet washcloth, and I'm going to start by wiping this disgusting stuff off of here. So it can be kind of hard to clean girths because they have all these crevices and where the braid is. So I just try my best. If you have like an old toothbrush you want to use to scrape that dirt out, that's another great idea. But luckily it's not shedding season, so no hair is stuck in here. That's the worst. So I'm going to wipe this down. This is the outside of the girth, so it's not that bad. But here's the inside. And as you can see, there's really compacted dirt in here where it's been in contact with the horse. And I usually try to wipe this off every time I use it, especially if the horse was sweaty that day. All right, so there we go. It's all wiped down. So now I can apply my leather cleaner to it. So I'll just make my tiny circles and rub in that cleaner and conditioner so it gets worked into the leather there. And like we mentioned with the saddle, now's the perfect time to be looking over your tack and making sure it's all okay and there's nothing wrong with it. So like with the girth, I'm going to look at my buckles and make sure they're attached really well. I'm going to look at the stitching on my girth too and make sure that I don't see anything coming undone. Voila, all clean. So I'm going to put this up, and now we're going to do the bridle. All right, so now for the most challenging part of the day, the bridle. So I remember when I was a kid and I'd have to clean bridles. I hated doing it because it was so complicated. I'd have to take it all apart and then put it back all together, and I always did it wrong. So you don't have to take your bridle apart to clean it. I like to, just because I like to get each individual piece. I also want to scrub my bit. So I'm going to take this apart, scrub my bit and my stirrups because I still haven't done that, and then I'll clean my bridle here. I cannot get this. Quick side note, if you have a hard time getting your bridle undone, you can take a hoof pick and wedge it under the leather, and then I will work the leather up like that, and then I can undo my strap here. So there's a nifty little piece of advice. It's another reason I don't like taking bridles apart, is because it's usually difficult to do. All right, here's my reins. For those of you interested, I use a 3-piece French link bit on Tucker. He's a really small pony, so this is a 4 3/4, I want to say. So that's his bit there. So let's go ahead and clean our bit and our stirrups, just so I can show you guys this process, and then we'll come back to the bridle. So I'll first clean my bit here. You want to make sure you wipe off your bit each time after you ride. Horses will usually get clumps of grass and stuff stuck in the bit that can cause them discomfort later once it's dried and hardened. So you want to make sure you clean your bit. And if there are little pieces of grass like wedged in your bit or stuck in there that didn't get wiped off, you can always just let it soak for a few minutes in the water, and that way those clumps of grass will loosen up. So your stirrups here, my stirrups are usually really dirty and they're covered in sand and mud just because they touch my boots, which are usually dirty. So one reason you should wipe off your stirrups is because sooner or later your stirrups will get rusty. So that's happened to any set of stirrups I've had. Eventually they start to rust. So by wiping them down, you can kind of get off all that crud that's on them that can cause them to rust and get dirty. You know, I never noticed this, but stirrups kind of look like a cheese grater. So when it comes to working with the bridle, you got a lot of really small narrow straps that you're going to have to be cleaning. So I like to kind of rub my cleaner in just so it's not as thick. That way when I apply it, it's not overwhelming and it doesn't get trapped in the holes for the bridle. And as you can see, there's nice stitching on the brow band. So this is another thing where I want to apply my cleaner lightly, and that way it just doesn't get all clumped up on the stitching. All right, so here's my nose band. And once again, the nose band will also probably have stitching like the brow band. So I want to make sure my cleaner is going on nice and thin. So these two lovely pieces of leather are called the cheek pieces. So this is the part that connects the bit to the bridle. So I'm going to make sure I got these. So as you can see, cleaning the bridle is very tedious. You got a lot of pieces of small leather that you want to look over and make sure they're working properly and that none of them are broken. All right, time for the real pain in the butt, which are the reins. And if your reins are braided, these are especially annoying. If you have synthetic reins, that's great. You can just wipe them down. Unfortunately, I do not have synthetic reins, so I'm gonna have to clean these. So I just don't like braided reins because it's hard to clean them. The braids usually get the cleaner stuck in them, and then you have goop all in your reins. And then there's just so many small pieces. The braiding can come undone, and once that happens, I get too annoyed with the straps, so I have to throw the reins away. I really should just get myself some synthetic reins. All right guys, so the bridle's done, and to make things a little bit more interesting today, we're gonna time me to see how fast I can put my bridle back together correctly. So when my cameraman, who's calling, when he says go, I'm gonna start putting my bridle back together. Guys, I'm nervous. Okay guys, this is my finishing time. If you clean your tack, time yourself and let me know how fast you can put your bridle back together. All right, so we're done cleaning tack, and that's it for this rainy day. But if it's raining where you're at and you don't have an indoor arena where you can do stuff with your horse, it can be hard to find stuff to do. So we have an entire video dedicated to this topic, giving you things you can do with your horse on days you can't ride. So I'll put the link in the description for you to check that out. And if you got anything out of this video, please be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more weekly horse videos.